Welcome to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba. Thanks for joining us. I have Matt Manero, founder and CEO, author and entrepreneur of Dallas-based Commercial Fleet Financing, and author of You Need More Money. Matt, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Michael.
All right, give us some background of you, how you got to You Need More Money, and I want to just open it up to a forum with us free-flowing.
Yeah, I'd love it. Thank you for having me. Look, I am a capitalist. I'm an entrepreneur. I started my business 23 years ago from nothing in a dumpy one-bedroom apartment with a phone and a folding table, and I did this all day. You know, making money, not making money, making money, not making money. And
you hit me right in the heart. Keep going.
I mean, lots of ups and downs over 23 years, but the company will do $170 million this year. We've done a couple $2 billion in financing. And the reality is this book did not live in me. I didn't want to, I had no, you know how authors say, oh, this book was in me for 10 years. So this book was never in me. I never had a yearning to write a book or to create a little bit of a movement that we've got going now until 3 years ago, my brother-in-law died, my wife's only brother, and she was so crazy in love with him, and they were so close. And he died and left a wife and 4 kids with no health insurance, no life insurance, and $100 in the bank. Ooh. And so my wife and I were able to help with all the bills for that almost 1 year to the day, that period of time. And I began to really become very introspective about, you know, maybe that was why I worked so hard for all these years, right? Maybe that was the price that I paid, was the benefit of being able to help. And so I wrote a little story about it. It got picked up by an agent in Dallas called Dupree Miller. They're the agent for Tony Robbins and Joel Osteen and Dr. Phil and Grant Cardone. And they said, we'd like you to expand on this a little bit more. And then we'd like to take your story to some publishers. And they did. And wouldn't you know it, Penguin bought the rights, and I ended up writing a story. And it has been the most unbelievable pivot in my life. I never dreamed that I could get this much pleasure out of helping other people. I was a taker for all those years, you know.
Well, you have to understand that a little bit, being a taker, starting where you were, and then eventually understanding where you really get your fulfillment from. Really. Yes. And that's when it really kicks in. Tell me about some of the things that you think are going to be impactful to the audience, and then talk to me about the ways you've seen the pearls of wisdom in the book help people.
Yeah, look, I mean, I break the book up into two sections. The first is the wake-up call, and the second is the roadmap. The wake-up call is very scary for a lot of people because most people are unbelievably behind financially and they don't understand it. And so I share a lot of data. Some data is very straightforward. The first is that the money is moved. People need to understand this. When I graduated college in 1991, to be in the top 1% of earners, you needed to make $100,000 a year. Today, to be in the top 1%, you need to make $384,000. Well, the money's moved, but people are still chasing these old numbers. They think $100,000 a year is a lot of money, right? Well, the reality is, no. To be in that same category, we need $384,000. We can just look at the cost of housing and cars and food and clothing and schooling. Everything has gone up, but yet most people...
And the cost of doing business.
But even in some situations, Michael, we know the cost of doing business has gone down, right? It's never actually been easier for us to learn, to train, to skill up. We have these things called Google and YouTube. In the old days, we had to buy cassette tapes and then CDs, and then we had to travel and spend thousands to go listen to Brian Tracy and Tom Hopkins speak at conventions. Guess what? Now I get them for free on YouTube. Yeah. I get all the guys for free, right? So the first thing that people have to understand is take what I call the litmus test, and it's in the book, and it is the 1, 3, 5, 10 test, the litmus test. The first thing is in your 20s, you need to do one time, take your annual income and multiply it times 1 to see if you have a net income, a net worth of 1 times your annual income. That's the formula in your 20s. Most people actually can do it. The guy's making $50,000 a year, he owns a house, maybe he's got $50,000 in equity, he actually meets that. but it starts to change as we get older. In your 30s, it's 3 times your annual income as your net worth. In your 40s, it's 5 times, and in your 50s, it's 10 times. So now if a guy's 50 and he's making $150,000 a year, he needs to have $1.5 million in his net worth. And that's where it begins to really freak people out. And then the second part of the book is the roadmap. What is the fundamental process we have to take to actually get back on track and win at the game of money? And I'm incredibly proud about this book. It came out in April, and it's been very, very well received. But it's just been an unbelievable pivot in my life that I never saw coming.
I believe it. Now tell us about some of the instances where you've got some testimonials, some case studies about how you've helped people, how you changed their lives for the better.
Look, every day I get an email from someone who's read the book, and they tell me how it helped. Either they changed their platform, which is what I talk a lot about in the book. People might call platform career path or industry or space. I call it platform. People need to be in the right platform. And unfortunately, most people are in the wrong platform. I use the example of a guy making sandwiches at Subway, right? He's making $8 an hour, but he thinks he's going to drive a Lambo because he watches certain videos on social media and he thinks that's going to be his life. No, buddy, you're in the wrong platform. It ain't going to happen.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So we got to put ourselves in the right platform. How do we know if we're in the right platform, Michael? We have to say, who is winning in that platform? Who's living the life that I want to live? Who's earning what I want to earn? And then we have to follow their lead. And most people don't do that. We just go to work and then we go home. And we don't focus on it. Time marches on, and before you know it, we're 40 or 50, we're behind financially, and then something happens. 2 planes hit skyscrapers. China says, I want to get into that marketplace. Regulation changes and makes that product offering obsolete. Or maybe you just get a new boss who doesn't like your butt, and you get a pink slip. Right? We have to be prepared for these things that we don't know. And then the worst possible case is like in my brother-in-law's situation where he went to the doctor and just wasn't feeling good and was rushed to the emergency room with stage 4 cancer. I mean, how do we know about that? You don't. So we got to be prepared.
Talk to me about being prepared.
So the first thing we got to do, I call it the ups, right? The first up is we have to platform up. We have to make sure that we're in the right space, the right industry, the right platform. We have to make sure that it's a platform that actually has a chance to make it. Right? The second thing we have to do is skill up. Most people are grossly underprepared for excellence. They have not put in the time to be great. The top 1% of any industry is a great place to be.
Talk to me about that point.
About skilling up?
Skilling up, being prepared for excellence.
I just had a meeting we have 4 new salespeople in my office, and I had a meeting with them this morning, and I said, it's Monday, tell me who you watched, who you read, and who you listened to over the weekend. And some people said, well, I listened to Gary Vaynerchuk over the weekend. I said, congratulations, that's awesome. How long? Well, I watched a couple Instagram videos. Well, Instagram videos run 59 seconds. How many did you watch? 5. Okay. You spent 5 minutes this weekend skilling up, watching Gary Vaynerchuk. What about you? One said, I read some of your book. I said, which book? Because I have 2. The first one was called The Grit. And she said, I need more money. I said, the book's called You Need More Money. She goes, yeah, but I need more money. I said, well, great. Well, how much you read of it? She's like, well, I read a chapter. I said, okay, so what was that? 30 minutes? Listen, we are grossly under-skilled for excellence. And I like to tell people this, and they don't like to hear it, but amateurs get crushed and experts get paid, period. And you have the ability to win in almost any industry now because the only thing standing in your way between amateur hour and excellence is you. We can get it all on YouTube. We can learn anything we want about anything on YouTube. And the only thing it costs us is our time. There's no cost to it whatsoever. It's incredible how many people waste that.
I agree with you.
The third up that I talk about is network up. We got to know people. We literally have to work our circle of influence because that's how opportunities get created. Most of us live in a very, very narrow band of people, and we have to network up and meet more people. The next up that I like to refer to is we have to earn up. We are not going to save our way to wealth. We have to earn our way to wealth.
Exactly.
So the idea that people are going to say they're going to cut out their Starbucks and save $250 a day, and over my lifetime that makes me what, 10 grand? It doesn't mean anything. We have to make more money.
Yes.
We have to get paid up. And we do that through excellence and through value creation, and then going to our boss or going to the marketplace and saying, I saved us this much money, or I generated us this much money, and I want a piece of it. And then when the boss says, I'm sorry, we don't have it in the budget, you know what you got to do? You got to courage up, and you got to say, I'm out of here. I'm going to a place where my value creation will be recognized. And by the way, that's happening all over the place. People need to understand that is the reality of the new marketplace.
That's right.
The millennials will get what they want, or they will leave.
That's right.
And that is not something to be afraid of, and it's certainly not something to bash millennials. It's the most ridiculous thing. Millennials want to work, they want to achieve, they want to do well. They just want to do it in a more holistic environment. And if you don't provide that for them, too bad. That's not their fault. That's your fault as the owner and the leader.
I agree with you 100%.
And then the last up is the reserve up. We have to put money away. We have to save a lot more money. I was just doing an interview with Grant Cardone, and he said, well, how much? Give me the percentage. I said 40%. And he said, that's crazy, man. If I'm making 60 grand a year, I can't save all that much. I can't save 24. That's too bad. You have to. But you're not going to do it off 60. You're going to do it off 100.
Yeah.
And then once you start doing it at 100, you got to do it. Here's the reason. Somebody in their 20s, Michael, does not have to save 40%. But no one saves in their 20s. And in their 30s, they don't have to save 40% either. But no one saves enough in their 30s. And by the time we're 40, I'm 49, we start to say, oh my gosh, I'm behind. Well, the only way you start making up that gap is you got to earn up and you got to reserve up. You got to save more cash.
That's the wisdom I wanted you to bring out in the book.
Yeah.
I'd like to have you back on, drop more pearls of wisdom as we go forward.
I'd be happy to come on back. I mean, we're Dallas-based. We're right here.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
You got it, Michael. Thank you, too.
My pleasure.